Welcome to my kitchen, y'all. This is David Locke, and this is my blog, Boots and Bow Ties. And with all of the rich foods that we'll be eating this holiday season, I wanted to teach you what I call a recovery meal. And this is a very simple weeknight meal that I make for my wife and children, and even my children love it. And basically, we're going to start with a pineapple. We're just going to cut this pineapple up and create some great spears to eat. And we're really not going to do anything to them. Pineapple's wonderful. It's very cancer fighting. And of course, who doesn't love pineapple? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some cauliflower. We're going to coat it in olive oil and put a wonderful Indian spice on it called Tandori and roast that in the oven at a high temperature. And then the last thing I'm going to make, my protein is Ina Garten's Panko crusted salmon. That is so quick and easy to make, and I'll show you how to make that. So let's talk about the equipment and the things you'll need. One is a roasting pan. You'll need that, just a half sheet or a cooking sheet, whatever you want to call it, to roast the cauliflower. You're going to want some vegetable oil. You're going to want some olive oil. And of course, we're also going to want our Tandori spice. For our salmon, I'm usually not very brand specific, but if you have not tried this mustard, this is one of the best mustards on the market. It's a little hard to find. If you can't find it at your local grocery, look online. It's called Braswell's Champagne Dill Mustard, and it makes all the difference in the world with the salmon. You're going to want a lemon. We're going to zest that onto our fish. Of course, cauliflower, the pineapple, 2 tablespoons of parsley, some panko, which are Japanese breadcrumbs, pepper, salt, of course a generous piece of salmon, and I'm going to cut this into 4 pieces, a pastry brush that you can brush the mustard onto the fish with, and a plane to zest your lemon, and then lastly a pan. I like a pan that has handles on the side, that doesn't have a long pan, that we can start on the stovetop and then finish in the oven. So in just a minute I'm going to take you piece by piece. I'm going to show you how to make this meal, and first I'm going to start with how to cut a pineapple. So let's learn how to cut a pineapple. When I was younger, this was always very intimidating to me. I mean, that's got all that spiky vegetation on it. One of the ways that you know a pineapple is ready to be cut is it's very yellow all the way around, has no green spots on it, and it even has a few brown spots. It also smells very pineapple-y and very sweet. So the first thing I do is I'll actually take 2 cutting boards. One that I'm going to start cutting the pineapple on, and the other that I'm going to finish it on. I found by using 2 separate cutting boards, I get a lot less of this cellulosic material into my fruit. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start with a nigiri knife, which is a very rectangular looking chef's knife. You really can use any type of knife you have, but you do need a chef's knife about this size. And we're just going to simply cut the top off. Then we'll dispose of that. Then we're going to cut the bottom off. And then we'll dispose of that. It gives you a really nice surface to work on. So you want it to be flat. And then what we're going to start doing is just simply cutting down. And you can see I'm just working down, sort of following the contour of the pineapple. You can see there's a little bad place here, so I'll cut that out later. I'm just working down a little bit at a time. I'm working around. You don't want to take too much, so you can use small cuts a little bit at a time. And then when you get all of that done, you can see I've pretty much got a clean pineapple. I'll work around and I'll clean this off just a little bit more. And one of the nice things I found is before I go to my bigger cutting board is to rinse this off. So I'm going to go rinse this off in the sink, and then I'm going to show you how we actually create spears. So I've transferred my pineapple to a little bit larger cutting board. This cutting board's clean. I've rinsed my pineapple and I've dried it off. I had to hack this one up a little bit because it had a few bad places in it. So how do we get that core out? Well, it's very simple. What you want to do is you want to cut down through the middle of the pineapple. Then you want to take, you can see the core is now revealed. You want to cut down again, and then just simply take your knife, and there you've removed the core. Dispose of that, and then you've got a nice quarter. And what I do is I just simply cut that into very nice spears. You can see this one's a little irregular because I had to take off a little bit of a bad place, but that creates very nice spears. If you feel like you hadn't got all of the core out, you can just simply cut it a little bit more. And then you can see here's my nice quarter. And I'll just watch my finger. take that out and then just cut that into very nice spears. And then I'll just simply serve that. So that's how you cut a pineapple. Now to prep our cauliflower. This is so easy. So what I've done is I've taken the cauliflower, I've taken off the majority of the large white stem from the center, and what I'm left with are fairly good size, bite-sized pieces of cauliflower. I've washed them and I've just simply drained them in a strainer or a colander. I'm going to put those inside a little bit larger pot or vessel. Then I'm just going to begin seasoning them. I'm going to take about 2 tablespoons of a good olive oil, pour that over top of them. And then basically this is by sight. I'm just going to take some sea salt here, about 2 teaspoons. This is a Himalayan pink sea salt I'm using. Then I'm going to put some fresh cracked black pepper all over, maybe about a half a teaspoon. And then we're going to use our secret ingredient, the tandoori. And the tandoori is this wonderful orange colored spice. It has cardamom, ginger, paprika, all the different spices that we associate with India. You can see it's just a beautiful spice. I'm going to put about a teaspoon of that all over my cauliflower. Then I'm just going to toss it a little bit to make sure it's nicely coated. Oop, I lost one. Might even add a little bit more. Again, this is kind of to taste and what your side looks like. So that's about 2 teaspoons, I think. Just making sure they're nicely coated. Then I'm just going to turn that out onto a cooking sheet. Anytime you cook something on a cooking sheet, you want to make sure it's not crowded. If it's overly crowded, the vegetable will steam. And that one's a little large, so I'm just going to cut him apart. I've preheated my oven to 400 degrees for the cauliflower. I'll put that in for about 20 minutes until it's nice and golden brown. Now let's take a look at how to do the salmon. Now let's prepare the panko. So I've got about 2/3 cup here of Japanese breadcrumbs. I'm going to add to that about 2 tablespoons of freshly chopped parsley. And then I'm going to add the zest of 1 lemon. And then to bind all that together, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of a really good olive oil. Then I'm just going to give it a nice little stir to get it all incorporated. You want to just really get that really nice and stirred. Get that olive oil totally incorporated into the panko crumb mixture. Then I've taken that salmon and I've butchered it into 4 pieces so it would be easier for all of us to eat. Then I'm going to take my Braswell champagne mustard. I'm going to get a spoon here. And I'm just going to spoon a little bit of that on each one of the fish. And I'm pretty liberal with this. This is what really makes it taste good. Then you're going to take your silicone pastry brush and you're just going to kind of paint that mustard all over the fish. And that is the glue that is going to adhere or panko to the fish. Then I'll simply just take it spoonful by spoonful and then press that into the fish. Oh, one thing I left off, you also want to pepper each fish and give each one of the fillets a little bit of salt. So make sure I do that on top of the one I've already done. So I'll go through, I'll pack each one of these pieces of fish with the panko, and then I'll show you next. We're going to put it on the stovetop in about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, heated to medium-high heat. We're going to fry those skin side down, not moving them, for about 3 minutes. Then we'll take them into the oven and we'll finish them at 425 degrees for about 5 to 7 minutes. Then we'll pull them out of the oven, tint them for about at least 5 minutes, if not 10 minutes. They'll continue to cook, and then you can serve them warm or at room temperature with a lemon wedge. So my oil is very hot, and now I'm just going to tip these in skin side down into the hot oil, and I'm going to cook these without moving them for about 3 to 4 minutes just to brown the skin. So my fish is searing and popping from being on the stovetop. Now I'm going to put it inside of an oven at 425 for about 5 minutes until the panko begins to brown. Then I'll tint it with aluminum foil for about another 10 minutes, and then we'll serve it.